Ideomotor responding. What is it? How do you set it up? And what are the best benefits for using this technique in your hypnosis sessions? Hi, I'm Hypno Heather, and I'm here to go over a short lesson about ideomotor responding and take you through the discussion and the information provided by Roy Hunter in his book, The Art of Hypnotherapy. And once we go through that and how to set it up, we'll get into why this technique is something that you will want to embrace in your hypnosis practice to get the best results from your hypnosis sessions and for you and your client to have confidence that the issue has been, in fact, resolved. So let's start by looking through this material now. One technique to discover cause is called ideomotor responding. I used to only teach this in the advanced training with my students, but have found it's so helpful and beneficial that I have added it to all of my classes. This is when a client responds to a yes or no question by a finger and or a thumb movement. Hunter says the theory is that people may often allow more accurate information to come from the subconscious mind through ideomotor responses than through verbal answers. Sometimes the finger almost moves on its own, and sometimes the answer can seem clear to both the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Many of my clients find this technique interesting indeed. And the beauty of this is that when we're asked a question and then we go to speak the answer, it's like our conscious mind can be engaged. And as you know, in hypnosis, we're not looking to engage that conscious mind at all. We're really looking to get the information and the answers from the subconscious mind so that we can really get to those deeper layers to what's really going on. And that's the beauty of this technique. Also, you'll see other scripts where you might have been reading it and it'll say or ask the client to nod their head or to give some sort of confirmation or say okay. And this is that. It's just that you get to set up the response to be given by a finger or thumb movement, which again offers less opportunity to bring in the analytical, logical, conscious mind that we don't want in the subconscious or even superconscious hypnosis session. So, does the client know the cause of the problem? Tibet believed strongly that the client was far more able to disclose the real cause of their problem than an outside person simply diagnosing. So, Tibet taught us that uncovering causes during hypnosis was more likely to reveal the core cause than simply speculating on a real or imagined cause intellectually. He believed that even when the client held an opinion at a cognitive level, the best answer was still inside the client, in the inner mind, buried deep inside the subconscious. Now, this, for any of those watching this that are already practicing, you already know this to be true. We can never assume as hypnosis practitioners that we know the answer or we know the cause, even if we saw it in so many different cases before that. And I'm sure then you also know that oftentimes clients do come in thinking that they know the answer or they know the cause, only to find that it was actually, in fact, before that event or before that moment. This happens all the time. I recently had a client that's a student of mine uh, working on an issue where she was certain that the event happened at this moment in adulthood, where ever since that moment she started to have these feelings of anxiety. But when we were, in fact, in hypnosis and using idiomotor in regression, we went back to a time where it began when she was 3 years old. So it's always really great not to assume that anyone's logical, conscious mind for sure 100% knows where the cause of the issue lies. Roy Hunter goes on to say, I have often expressed the belief shared by many of my colleagues that each of our patients has in his unconscious or inner mind the answers he is looking for. I explain that my task as a hypnotherapist is to unlock the door to the inner mind so that we can find the answers there. Basically, they find their own answers. I'll get into this a little further on about how this is a great technique for intuitive hypnosis as well. So, basically, the bonus here is that it gives us an opportunity to ask questions, to look further into where the problem might be stemming from, rather than to just go right to resolving or releasing the problem before that's done. Now, idiomotor responding, what is it exactly? So, when a client responds to yes or no questions by a finger or thumb movement, it is called idiomotor responding. It's like this. When they're really relaxed, sometimes it's like this. Sometimes you got to really look for it, or sometimes I'll, even with my online sessions, I'll just put the camera on their hand to really see the movement. It's about setting up the response on the person's hand so that when you ask questions, they simply have to lift a finger or a thumb to respond. And the theory again is that people may often allow more accurate information to come from the subconscious mind through idiomotor responses rather than through verbal answers. Since the conscious intellect can filter and or embellish easily if a person is only in a light or medium trance depth, there is a greater likelihood of accuracy when the answer comes more spontaneously from the inner mind. In fact, I have frequently seen clients answer no verbally while moving the yes finger. We still have no guarantee that total truth will always emerge, because we know someone can lie under hypnosis if they really want to. Now, this is interesting because I know when I was first learning this for myself and I volunteered to be an example for the class, I was there and been instructed to lift the yes finger when whatever we were doing was done. So I'm set up like this. This was my yes finger. And I put the class together. So I was the host of the hypnotist teaching this. And my finger wouldn't lift. Like it felt like it was a heavy rock holding down my finger. And I'm thinking, oh, it's almost lunchtime. Like we have to finish up this part of the lesson soon. And I'm hearing them talk, and nothing I could do would help me lift my finger. And eventually it lifted. So this is fun. This is the benefit of where we're really handing over that control to the subconscious mind, which we want for the best results in hypnosis. When people are deeper, in my experience, there's not all that thinking that goes with it. In fact, I do have a client, she'll come out of hypnosis and say, did I lift my fingers at all? I said, yeah, you did, without her even recalling what I'd asked. Now let's continue. If a hypnosis practitioner chooses idiomotor responding, rather than hypnotic regression. Due to lack of training in regression and or any other reason, the client might still regress and remember past pain if there is no wall of defense to prevent. If this happens, the client would most likely have an abreaction, and we would be needed to be prepared to deal with what emerges. This is where I get into spontaneous regression and making sure that even if you don't have the full regression training, that you do have the understanding and the information about how to deal with a spontaneous regression. Before using the ideomotor responding technique, we must take a moment to establish which responses will indicate yes and no, and so on. Hunter says, when I studied under Tibets in 1983, he taught that the therapist should be the one to determine the finger and thumb movement, and he put this opinion into writing. But I believe the client should make those choices. Regardless of the therapist's logic for choosing, there is an important reason for allowing the client to choose instead to avoid confusion. If a client uses the right index finger for yes in one hypnotherapist office, what happens if another assigns the same finger as a negative response? Let's avoid that risk. I found too that it just makes more sense for the client to set up their own response because they're responding to what you're saying. So just let them pick. The only thing that I'll do is I'll get them to really choose the hand that the camera's on, and I'll make that suggestion to just put them on that hand that I can see. Here's how to set up ideomotor responding. I'm going to ask you a series of questions that can be answered yes or no. I would like you to allow the response to come from your subconscious or your inner mind. Note that either or choice of the above statement increasing the probability of a subconscious response rather than a conscious one. If the answer is yes, please choose a finger that represents the yes response and indicate it by moving it now. Great, thank you. If the answer is no, please indicate the negative response by moving that finger or thumb now. Great, thank you. If the answer is either I don't know or I don't wish to disclose, please move another finger or thumb and indicate by moving it now. Thank you. Make a note of the responses. Sometimes they will move two fingers instead of a separate one for an I don't know or I don't wish to respond. I always write it down. And when the client comes back the next time, I'll even double check it. What's the yes response again? Or show me your yes response. Thank you. Show me your no. Thank you. Show me again your I don't know. Thank you. And you can always check it with each session so that you know exactly what the response is and there's no confusion between you two. My logic in allowing a third response to indicate either I don't know or I don't want to say is for the client's benefit. People are often afraid of revealing secrets during hypnosis and may resist even if they understand the ethics of client confidentiality and trust. Just knowing that they have the option of the third answer makes the probability of truth far greater when they give the actual yes or no response. This is true. And it's also helpful because sometimes they just don't know or they're unsure, and you're not again trying to get them to overthink it. This is a response that you want them to quickly answer. If it's taking too long, maybe they didn't hear you. Maybe there was a mix up in the connection or they didn't understand the question. So you can always repeat the question. I'll often say, I always say thank you after you show me the response. So if you don't hear me say thank you, just lift the finger again, please. So these are little things that you can do along the way. Once you have this set up, it's there for you. And you can come back and use it with your client again and again and again. So, what are the best benefits of using Ideomotor? One, they can be used to confirm with the subconscious mind when the work is done, or even if more work is needed, along the way in the session and at the end. Are you happy with the results from today's session? Yes or no? Is there more to do in hypnosis for this issue at a later date? Yes or no? Can the subconscious mind keep working on this even after you leave today? Yes or no? Great, thank you. Is it okay now for you to go into the future and see the results of the work that you have done? Yes or no? Excellent. Go there now and see it, and feel how you're going to feel. Uh, Really, you can ask anything that you feel in the moment, which brings us to number two. It is perfect for off script and intuitive hypnosis, as you can allow your own guidance to ask questions to the innate wisdom of your clients. And isn't that what we're really doing anyway? We're showing up as our ability to guide someone else to that space in them that always resides there. And then when we have idiomotor, we have the ability to help tap into that resource even more and say, great, do you feel confident now that you can take that flight on the plane and feel good? Yes or no? No? Okay, is there anything else needed to be done today to make that you are 100% confident about this? Yes or no? Yes? Great. Do that now and let me know when it's done. There's so much that you can do with this technique. And three, it creates more confidence for your client and you to know that the cause has been discovered and the issue has been resolved. Again, you can simply ask because a lot of hypnosis scripts, they still follow that authoritative method of saying, now this is done, or it's clear, or you're going to be able to, or you are now able to fly confidently, calmly. You feel great. You're going to find it easier to eat better and feel better, or your panic attacks are gone. I mean, sometimes it really just is like so authoritative where the hypnotist is telling the client, well, the subconscious mind, this is how it is. And we know that there is value in that method, but that method is not an accurate way to determine if your client believes that the work is done just because you're saying it. So, in this way, you get to ask. And not only do you feel confident that you did it, but they feel confident that you did it. And there's nothing better than the client saying, yes, the work is done. And yes, I am happy with this outcome. And that is the real benefit is that you get to work together with your client with this technique to really create change at a deeper level so that then anything that you use, suggestion management or release or clearing techniques or scripts, has a greater impact and helps create lasting change. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. And feel free to reach out to me on any platform at Hypno Heather. And I look forward to connecting. And your success is a success for all. Thank you.